Hello, I'm Julie Swenson, Managing Director of Forward Theater Company in Madison, Wisconsin. This is Theater Forward, a twice monthly conversation about theater from a local, regional, and national perspective. From Madison to Manhattan, we're excited to share insight into our own company while exploring issues surrounding theater in the Midwest and around the country. This conversation is about the people behind the stage managers, designers, technical directors, and carpenters, without whom we wouldn't be able to do theater. Unfortunately, during and after the pandemic, these professionals have left the business. What to do about that? I think the only way is to develop and nurture the next generation of technical theater artists. And joining me today is Sarah Ross from UW Stevens Point and Brian Gill at the University of Wisconsin Parkside, two universities that are leading the way in developing new talent. Now, Brian is the Associate Professor of Performance and Head of Acting in the Theater Arts Department. He's also a professional actor and an active member in the Society of American Fight Directors. Sarah Ross is the Assistant Professor in the Theater Design and Technology. Sarah is a talented scenic and props designer. You've seen her work on the forward stage in The Wanderers, and she is currently creating the scenic design for our upcoming production of The Garbologists. She is also the director of the Women's Fund of Portage County. Welcome, Sarah and Brian. So nice to have you here.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
Yay. So, I started this conversation. You know what we're talking about. I'm a little concerned about our lack right now of technical professionals. You are developing, I think, the best in the business right now. And are you concerned? What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the numbers of folks who've left the industry, those folks that are working behind the scenes, I know Production on Deck did a recent survey, I think in the last year, it was something like 28% after the pandemic decided to leave the industry, do something else, and probably aren't coming back. So that's a lot of knowledge, that's a lot of experience. And certainly it provides opportunity for those who are interested in a career in technical theater to kind of take on those roles, but in a way that is, it's just difficult because we're not sort of passing on this knowledge to the next generation. At the same time, I think there's an opening for us to, as we have been, looking at equity, inclusion in our industry, and being able to, set some really meaningful and impactful practices that are protecting our theater technicians, our managers, all of our artists in theater, so they can do the best work that they can do in a supportive environment and feel really supported and included in building up those practices to create those really equitable workspaces.
Yeah. Brian, what are you thinking? And has your experience been the same?
Yeah, COVID hit us all so hard and came out of left field. We came from a tradition of the show must go on to suddenly being in a situation of, well, the show can't go on. And that was, I think for those of us who have been in the biz for so long, that was a really alien concept. Of, oh, well, I'll just, I'm in the middle of a build or in the middle of a performance and I just, injured myself. So I'll just hold my hand behind my back or I'll just wrap that up and keep on with the performance kind of attitude to you literally cannot be within, X amount of distance with each other. There was a big, when the pandemic hit, we were all doing our Zoom Shakespeares and our all of that kind of stuff, which really, that was great for the performance folks, but it was just another, you don't need a TD in that situation. How do you include designers, things like that? One of the first things that Parkside did when when the shoe dropped was we collaborated with College of Lake County and to do we called it Summer Shakes. And we did 3 Zoom Shakespeare's. And we were able to include design-focused students by saying we're doing, I think it was Twelfth Night, Midsummer Night's Dream, and the Scottish play. And so, hey, who wants to do some designs and who wants to do some lighting, just conceptual kind of stuff, so that we could include them. We could show audiences in this new and odd environment of Zoom, that aspect as well. But yeah, it's as we've talked before, why come back to the theater and build sets for long hours and pay when you can, as you said earlier, Julie, you could install a kitchen and build a bathroom and be home by 5 o'clock in the evening, and make higher wages.
Right. But I mean, that has always been the case.
Right. Absolutely.
And I don't, I hate the idea that we've taken some vow of poverty, because we are in a profession where people still need to have a place to live, eat. And so that it has to be not, we want these professionals not to be poverty stricken. So you are absolutely right, Sarah, in making sure that the environment is good and the working environment is something that people love. And let's be honest, we're here because we really do find meaning in theater, in the same way that I might not find meaning in building a kitchen. So how do you inspire, knowing, we all knew this, we all have degrees, we all knew that we could make better money someplace else, but we chose to do what we are doing. We chose to have a life in the theater. And how are you both as professionals and then also educators inspiring that generation to keep doing this theater that we so love?
I think the folks that I'm seeing that are really interested in doing theater are the same folks we've always had, where you get really excited and this is where I belong. This is where I feel I can be my authentic self, that I'm valued. And for a lot of folks, that starts in middle school or high school. And then there's some of us that continue wanting to work in this it's sort of a lifestyle, right? To continue to work in the theater arts. So I think it's championing that energy and providing those spaces where that younger generation of artists feel like this is a sustainable career. And I would argue that it's still not. And you have to have a certain amount of, I don't actually know what you have to have, but it is, it's just stubbornness, maybe, to be able to, yeah, exactly. Thanks, Brian. To just be able to sustain. So I am feeling some hope for our industry. We've had so many amazing artists, advocates out there who are doing the hard work that we're joining with to be able to create the new normal for our industry. And that new normal also being something that lives in a draft, that is constantly changing, that we're constantly looking for input to see how we can better the industry. But it's not like the students are coming in with enthusiasm. The students are inspiring. And the students that I'm seeing are actually the ones that are really pushing for change, so that they are feeling like they can be their authentic selves. And so that is, I think, like at UWSP, we're doing a lot of responding to that, along with the additional research and understanding that we're all doing as instructors. But it is very tricky, because this idea that Brian brought up of the show must go on is still prevalent. The show must go on at all costs is still a thing out there in the industry. So how do you prepare a student for those long hours? How do you prepare a student to negotiate a contract when the what we're used to is low pay, is long hours, is lack of support, no transportation, perhaps not a shop to work in? How do you champion students to advocate for a fair contract, but also recognize the history of this industry? So to be able to work in a way that you're partnering with those institutions, with those companies.
Well, and that balance as well of, one of the things I've always loved about the theater is our aspects of that. The show must go on. We all live in the problem solving, and we solve problems and make things happen that most people would find utterly confounding. And I think there are students, a lot of our students at Parkside, once they start shifting their thinking into that, okay, how do we do this thing? How do we solve this problem? They start getting really excited about that. And that ability to tell the story and create the illusion. Oftentimes with, limited abilities, is they start getting really excited about that, and how okay, this is what we want to build. We need to make it look this way from the audience's point of view. How do we go about doing that? They're just watching them, because I'm handy enough that when I have time, when I'm not teaching or doing professorly things, I'm down in the shop helping out, just because I enjoy that. So it's fun seeing them year by year as they're going through the program, just getting more savvy, getting more clever, and getting a real kick out of that is really cool.
Students, and their growth that you see and the time that you are with them. Unless you've come from a really great high school theater program, you don't know some of these jobs. The lighting design, scenic design, that's generally not done by a high school kid. When they build a set in high school, there's a teacher or something, making sure that, they don't hammer their hand into a piece of wood. But how do you get, because I think Stephen's Point and Parkside are doing the very best in terms of developing these students to go out into the world. But you have to have had a whole bunch of kids that come in as actors, or maybe do know about props design. And then how do you move them into technical design or some of these other positions that they might not even know exist? What's the process of that?
Well, at Parkside, we function on what we call the company model, which is essentially we run as a professional theater company. And one of the things that we do is, if you come in and you're like, I want to be the next Phantom of the Opera, and that's going to be my thing, I want to sing all the songs, we say, that's fantastic. And you're going to sing some songs. And when you're not singing those songs, you're going to be in the scene shop, or you're going to be running a crew, or you're going to be working on lights and things like that. So all of this, and that works both ways. We have somebody coming in saying, I want to be a lighting designer, and we say, fabulous, you also have to audition for things, so that everyone ends up kind of on equal footing. So we have had students come in, and it has been all about acting. I want to conquer the world as an actor. And then they end up working on sound for a show to meet some requirements. And they go, oh, I want to do sound. And they get really into the sound design. And that suddenly, or building a set, or designing lights or projection or something like that, and they suddenly find, this. It's fun to watch this whole kind of world open up in front of them, and then we help them pivot, and we give them as many opportunities as we can with that. And it doesn't mean that then they never act again, but because our majors work between both performance and the technical side of the theater. We do oftentimes get students moving back and forth, which is always great, and it makes you more hireable. If you are a theater artist who can say, "Boy, I'm between contracts. I really don't want to, bartend or work in a temp office. I'm going to call the production manager of Theater X and say, do you need an extra pair of hands on such and such? And then I'm still in it. I'm not removed from what's going on while I'm pursuing the next thing. So we really encourage that and support the students in that regard.
Sarah, what's the process at Stevens Point?
Yeah, I'm loving what Brian is saying of just offering that opportunity, right, for that creative curiosity and exploration and risk taking. So Stevens Point is a BFA program. So our acting and musical theater performance students are coming with a high credit count major. It's very structured. They're both excellent programs, and we see the results. Those students are going out in the world, and they are professional working actors, I think Stevens Point has a lot of pride about that. It's an awesome performance program. But as you said, Julie, we also have a BFA design and technology program that has had a really great reputation in the region for a long time. I feel very privileged to be a part of that program. But it is very different because you often have students coming in, as you said, Julie, with that experience from high school or from community performances and even some professional experience. These students are coming into those performance tracks, and they're already a little bit ahead of the game. It may be that they're just honing in on those skills. Design and tech students, they sometimes get some experience, but a lot of them are coming in with just their curiosity and some ambition and some enthusiasm, ready to learn, but don't have the experience. So then it's all about the production season, because while we're an academic institution, we're also responsible for a bottom line as well. We need to be able to generate revenue in order to continue programming that these students are constantly a part of. And all of our students, for all of our main stage productions, those are faculty directed, choreographed, music directed. But as far as all of the other roles that you have on the collaborative production team, those are going to be students. Every once in a while, I'll design a show a year. Same with my colleagues. We'll maybe have a costume design or a sound design that's done by the faculty. But for the most part, we want to get those students in those roles so that they're coming out of the program with a really good resume. So it's difficult because our design tech students are starting at just a different level of experience and education than our performance students. And that is a tricky thing to balance when we're coming up with our production seasons of what is actually doable. Because like all of our theater programs around the state, we're a pretty skeletal crew in terms of the faculty support, staff support. And so we have to make some really smart decisions there so that our program is sustainable, our jobs are sustainable, and the students can get through the program in a sustainable way. We also have this BA program, and I think that's a lot of what Brian was talking about, and that is a lower credit count major. So it provides this opportunity for students to really reach out and pull other skills into their theater arts education. And I'm a huge advocate because I actually started off in performance in my undergrad and did a couple years working as an actor before I decided design. The shop, working in the shop was a better shift for me, and then moving into design. That I think students should have some other area that they're pulling knowledge from. We have our awesome arts management program. So a lot of times the BFA students as well, but those BA students may double major or minor in that program to understand how important it is as an artist to connect with your community, to make those partnerships, to do that networking so that you have impact wherever you're at. I would suggest that students go out and get some like a business minor. So you're understanding how to connect and communicate with people in a different way than you do as a performer or a designer and technician. And oftentimes designers and technicians don't recognize the importance of really needing to be able to connect on that level with patrons, with boards, with folks who are supporting those institutions that they're working for. Those relationships make a difference. And then I also challenge students to really, maybe have a second focus in sustainable design or sustainable development, because we are an industry that produces a lot of waste. And we're also an industry that needs to find more efficiencies in how we do things so we can kind of reel in those long hours and work under a very tight budget. So I think getting students excited about how arts and sustainable design, arts and business, how those things can come together to make them sort of a whole person artist that's ready to shift and pivot with whatever comes at them in the future in terms of their careers.
Yeah, we've seen an increase in double majors. Just piggybacking on what Sarah just said, these are smart and practical young people who are coming up, and they've been under a lot of challenges. So we'll see a theater major will come in focused on design and technology, and have a marketing double major in that in marketing or graphic design or things like that. And it's interesting. Because I've been in academia now long enough to kind of see, the days of being a student and doing your major and graduating, regimentally in 4 years, and that's it, are gone. Now these students are working, full-time jobs, part-time jobs, they're commuting, they're majoring with a couple minors or majoring with doing a double major, things like that. So that's a really interesting thing to observe of watching. As Sarah said, watching this is what I want to do. This is another major that can really help in my pursuit of a career in the theater.
I think both of you are doing such a great job at opening up the possibilities and making students aware that there are a lot of other positions. If you want to do theater, there's a lot of positions. I mean, I'm talking as a managing director of a company. I was an actor and a stage manager. This was not where I thought it was going to go, but I do think in this profession, the people who are most successful are the ones that say yes. Oh, well, God, I'll try that. I don't know. And like I said, I think you're doing such a great job of developing these students. What's their next step? And that's a broad question. You've got a lot of people you're working with, but as they go out into the world, I'm also thinking of something, Sarah, you said about if people have left the industry, we don't have a lot of professionals. There's not a lot of opportunity to apprentice or intern or follow the scenic designer that you love. So we're kind of, go forth and find a job. What would you recommend? What are your success stories, and what would you recommend to these students in order to get a job? I know that you must talk about that because you are not people that throw them out into the world without these kind of conversations.
Yeah, I mean, it's our goal, and obviously we've been rebuilding professional connections post-COVID. But our goal at Parkside is to have as many of our majors graduate with at least one professional credit, on their resumes. We have, we do this thing every year. We call it talent reviews, which drives me crazy. We need a better name for it. And we bring in professionals from the industry. So we spend a day, and so for the performance folks, that could be a director, an artistic director, a casting director. We've brought folks from all over. For the technology side, that will be people from the industry. The DTM students share their portfolios. They go through a full portfolio review with these professionals. And it's just great. And they do that every year. The freshmen don't have to do it unless they really, really want to. But so if they're savvy and they catch on early, they have 4 of these opportunities to sit down with at least 2. Sometimes we have more than that, but at least 2 professionals from the industry who are working to go over their materials. And then they can keep in touch with those folks throughout their college career, so that it's not, all right, well done, kid, here's your diploma, bye, which was very much my undergrad. It's one of the reasons that I ran screaming into a graduate program, because I got my degree from undergrad and was like, okay, I have no professional connections. What am I to do? So we work really, really hard to encourage and provide those opportunities, so that they are already building their connections while they are still kind of in the nest.
Right. And Sarah, I know that you do that at Stevens Point too. I have participated in both of these programs. I've had the great opportunity to meet a lot of the students and go to design reviews or something like that. Or do you want to talk about what you do at Stevens Point?
Yeah. So we had a similar opportunity that Brian is talking about, where it started by Christina Schneshkoff, who used to teach at Point, and she's a designer in Wisconsin and throughout the nation, but a costume designer. But she had invited institutions across the state to come to Stevens Point for a half day to sort of review those students' work. So professionals, but also students from other institutions. And we did that for a couple of years, and then we hit COVID. And so understanding that there is a need for this continued networking, because I think it's awesome also for students to get to meet each other, and to be able to start building those connections there, because oftentimes those are the connections that are lasting and get you to where you want to be, in partnering with your peers in college. So we're now a lot of our stuff is mostly virtual. We have a production forum class where we're doing a lot of that work, but we are continuing to think how to innovate in that area. Our performance students are going to New York, they're going to Chicago, they're going on tour. And so how do we keep those folks in Wisconsin? DT students, some are going to grad school, but a lot are just wanting to get started in the industry. So they're working at regional theaters, they're starting as assistant positions, and doing well. A lot of folks are going into production companies, especially some of our lighting and sound folks. So that's exciting to know that there's lots of room for these students to get into the business. But I think the academic institutions just need to continue to make stronger pathways of success to the professional institutions in Wisconsin. That's really difficult. I had some great conversations with Forward Theater Company about what are the challenges that y'all face. And for y'all, it sounds like housing. to get students to be able to be involved in a run of a show as some sort of, stage management apprentice, or to get somebody to even come in for a week to serve as a scenic artist, for instance. We have those housing issues of where can we place people while they're there. So I think there's just needs to be room for how we develop those types of programs, whether it's through some granting programs, some professional corporate sponsorships, so that we can solidify these pipelines so that the talent is being supported in Wisconsin after their undergraduate career, and that they'll maybe stay in Wisconsin so that, folks at Forward Theater Company aren't seeing this dearth of folks wanting to come in to be carpenters or wanting to come in and get on a path of technical direction.
That is certainly my challenge, housing, absolutely. But also, I do think we all want to work with the people we know and like. And I make it a special goal of mine is to hire somebody new within our season that we haven't worked with, and give a younger person or somebody recently graduating an opportunity, because that's the only way they stay here, and it's the only way we grow the next generation. I mean, you two are doing unbelievable work in preparing them. It's then my job to give them employment. And, so how do we connect those two? And we're working on it, and it will continue. But I hope that you are telling your students that there is work available, that we continue to have conversations on, I think this is a really great stage manager you should consider, or, whatever the position is. I'll be honest with you, my friends. I was feeling just a little bit, oh my God, what is the future of this industry in terms of technical theater? And I thought, I'm going to go on a conversation with my friends Sarah and Brian and feel a little bit better about that. And I'll be honest, I do. I think that this idea of people being beaten down. Yeah, the pandemic was really hard, but my goodness, we're still here. Theater companies are still existing. We're all still doing the work, and theater isn't going anywhere. We just need that next group to keep it going.
And I think, Julie, along those lines, this group, they are leaders already. They're ones that are pushing for an industry that is going to support everybody. So I think it's also, yes, getting them in positions where they're continuing to learn in their early career, whatever skills that they're needing. But it's also listening to those folks that are coming into the industry in a very real and intentional way, because they're coming in with a lot of ideas and really, really good ideas.
Yeah, going to revolutionize our industry.
And it's an exciting time because, we're coming, I guess we're coming out of this thing. I mean, it's not like it's gone away. We're just adapting to it. But this summer, we've got at least 50% of our majors are working this summer in the theater, in professional theaters. And that's the biggest number we've had since COVID darkened our door. So, it's that was really exciting to gear up for that at the end of the academic year, watching our students get, we've got everybody from APT to Colorado Shakespeare to one of our recent grads actually working with me. I'm directing a show at College of Lake County and brought him in for lighting design before he goes off to grad school for Wayne State. Chris Payne, a really, really good lighting design and projection designer. So that was really exciting, because we went from, my God, we have to prove that we're still relevant so that our programs don't get cut. Let's do a summer of Zoom Shakespeare yeah, you've got 3 offers. Fantastic. All right, let's walk you through this, that's really exciting to start seeing them get back into the professional environment after COVID.
Yeah. Well, we could keep going. I know that we could. But boy, I thank you for your time today. And thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for developing that next generation of theater artists. I look forward to working with them. And I'm going to say that's all for this episode of Theater Forward, a conversation about theater in Wisconsin, the Midwest, and America. Thank you for joining us. I'm Julie Swenson, and our podcast is produced by Scott Hayden, who is an actor and the director of marketing and communication for Forward Theater. And you can follow us or share your thoughts on Facebook, Twitter. As always, Theater Forward is with an ER. And if you enjoy this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you might tune in. And be sure to leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. We're grateful to have you listening, and we'll be back soon for another Theater Forward conversation.